and welcome to another episode of the Do It For Yourself podcast. I'm your host, FOXANNE.
And I'm your host, Laura, and this is a podcast for creatives by creatives.
This podcast is a mix of realness and feel-good vibes from your two new northern besties.
Ding, ding, ding. So today we've got another very, very special guest. So we've got Lex from Doodlex. That's how you say it, isn't it? Doodlex.
Doodlex, yeah.
Amazing. Yeah. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, so I am Lex, as you've just said. I am a illustrator and designer in Suffolk, and I'm currently selling my services freelance through my brand Doodlex.
If you were listening on the audio version, Lex currently has very, very niftily put her logo on the iMac, which I'm very jealous of, behind her. So amazing. I love that. Branding is just...
Yeah, it's such an easy little trick, really. I just thought, like, you want a printout of your logo so that you've got that sort of like, oh, this is my brand and this is all professional. Yeah. But yeah, easy, done.
So you mentioned that you offer freelance services. So you offer quite a lot of different services. What's your fave thing to do, and what's the thing that you do the most?
So I would say that my favourite thing to do is probably branding services as a whole, because I just feel like when I was at uni and just all through my education of graphic design, I've always gravitated towards wanting to do the branding side of things. Like, you say logos and it's just like, it doesn't do it justice, because branding is so much more than that. I just really love getting into the idea of a brand and what it is that they want to sell, or what it is that they're trying to do, their problem that they want to solve. I just love getting in the zone and behind the scenes for them and doing all the problem solving on that front to make like a really good strategy for their for their audience. So I'd say that I also do branding the most, which is, my favourite thing is the thing that I'm pushing out most, which is always great. When my commission started, it sort of wasn't very clear what direction I was going in. I was just kind of taking on any commission I could get, which I kind of still am, but there is more of a direction with like the clients that I'm taking on and the kind of work that I'm producing. So again, the branding services are what I enjoy doing most, and the thing that I get the most of as a result.
I would love to know what that looks like. So walk us through what an average start to finish, from receiving the email or the DM as to then sending deliverables.
Yeah, okay, so that has developed and changed quite a lot over the course of the 2 years, because as you know, you just learn so much about being a freelancer and being a lone designer as well, and having to like professionalize yourself in a way that people take you seriously and know that this transaction is fully serious and what you're doing isn't just a logo or just a bit of artwork. Like, you see this as something that they are like investing in, and it's a good thing for them. So I usually get a DM. That's usually how I get my inquiries. I would like to ask people to go to emails, as I feel like it's a lot more professional and it encourages people to sort of like get into a different zone when they need to tell people stuff. Like, I don't know, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I've noticed that. So I don't take business inquiries through DM anymore. You need to email me, because this is a certain type of automatic decorum that people seem to have. And then when I deal with clients through DMs, they seem to think that I'm available 24/7. So when I do the emails, they're more likely to be able to wait for business hours, which
understand.
I find it a lot easier. I also find it a lot easier to find emails as well, because you can just search for them, you can kind of put them in folders, whereas DMs, sometimes I'll look for a DM and it's missing, or it's gone, or there's
all
just
over the place.
It's just, you know what DMs are like.
Yeah, that's something I'm definitely thinking about, but at the moment I am receiving, as you say, like in DMs, and I completely agree with you with the whole people think that you're constantly available, and there's like a different sort of aura about people. I don't know how to explain it. It's weird. But anyway, I'll get a DM and I depending on what they've given in the message, most of the time people are just so excited. They're like, oh, I just want a logo, or I just want this. And it's like, okay, that's great. Can you tell me a little bit more about what it is you would like? So I have like set out client questions, which are directed mostly at like the branding projects and the sort of custom commission illustrations, just to sort of give people direction and to think about what it is they actually want from Doodlex and what their outcome is going to look like. The more information that they give me earlier on, then the better the outcome is going to be for them. So I just like to open up that, like, this is an open space, you need to communicate with me, otherwise you're not going to get what you want. Which is the reason why that I do this process, because I've had a lot of people who you do everything that they want and then you get to the end of the project and they claim it wasn't what they asked for. So this is kind of like me being able to back myself up to be like, you said I gave you this and you gave me this answer, so I worked from this, and that's, you know, like there's sort of less escape.
I think that's a difficult one. We were just having this conversation this morning about it, actually, about how when someone who isn't a designer or isn't creatively inclined, trying to explain to a designer what perfect image they have in their head without knowing the terminology to use. And I think some of the terminology is it depends on who's saying it and what it means. Like it can mean different. Like if you say quirky to one person, it will mean something completely different. As well, something that I do, going back to the DMs, if someone does DM me, I send them a link to my quote form, which has all the information I need. It tells me what their business is, what their business is about, all of their social media links, their website links, what their budget is, because I've had it in the past where I've spent a lot of time trying to get to the bottom of like what they want and what they're after, especially with like branding work. And then when I've given them the quote, they're shocked by the quote. Whereas if someone fills in my quote form and they're like, oh, I have £200 for a logo, well, I'm sorry, that's not going to cover it. That's something that I add in between that DM and email phase that makes my life so much easier.
Yeah, you're sort of cutting out that, like, there's no ambiguity of the expectation, because you've said it all out. That's exactly.
And then you both know where you stand then.
Yeah. And it's a good thing for you, but it is a good thing for the client as well. Like, they should see that as that, you know, the fact that you want to set out all these boundaries and such, it just makes everyone's life easier, like you say. Once I know what it is that they want, obviously you have a better idea of how to quote them and how much it's going to cost. I'm still, like, figuring out the prices side of things. Like, this is something this year that I'm going to be, like, taking up a notch, and I've always, as you know, been an advocate for like pricing yourself correctly as an illustrator and a designer, but there's like different levels, I suppose, because at the moment, like, my prices aren't exactly really cheap, but they're not exactly like asking for bigger clients, because they are on the cheaper side, if that makes sense. So that's something I want to try and play around with, because I'm recognising that the clients that I'm drawing in are not the clients that I want, because they are a little bit on the cheaper side and they do want things done. Like you said, they've got that vision in their head of how they want things, and then if they don't get that for the small amount of money that they do give you, it's like the end of the world. And it's really hard, like you say, to explain to someone who's not very creatively minded that this is my living, and I, like, £15 an hour is absolutely fuck all in the grand scheme of things. So you know, to ask you to pay me for a day's work, like £90, I think that is. I'm not very good at maths.
Something like that.
Yeah, something like that. That's, like, when you think about that, that's nothing. Like, that really isn't anything at all, but people will make out like you are charging an arm and a leg, and that's, as I say, something I'm trying to navigate to.
I think as well,
just make it better for me.
I think when you do raise your prices, I notice that, and I don't know if you have as well, Laura, when you raise your prices, I used to charge next to nothing for logo designs, and that was because I was starting out. I didn't really know much about it. That was when I used to just do logos and send one JPEG file. And But now I don't offer those services anymore. I do full branding projects. If you want just one logo, there's loads of creators out there who will make just one logo for you. That's why. But then my prices reflect my, one, experience, two, the equipment and the software that costs.
Exactly.
And then the time as well, because it's, I think sometimes some clients don't realise that all of that money doesn't go into our pocket. Like, we've got 20% tax, we've got
this and that, you've got your MacBook.
I've got the studio, like I've got external hard drives that break every 3 days. So it's just
sweet, Jesus Christ, that in itself is enough.
Exactly. So I've noticed as well since I put my prices up. So for example, like, we're super open about money, aren't we? We're open about it. So I offer branding projects, and minimum, the simplest branding project will cost a company £650. And then the full branding projects, when you go into like social media and packaging design and stuff, you're looking at maybe like anything between £1,500 to £2,500. But but since I've been pricing myself at those rates, the people who are coming to me have done their research and knows the kind of lingo to use, know exactly what they want, and they expect a certain level of, and they are a lot more understanding, they are a lot more like, because they are willing to pay for my craft and what I do for a living. Whereas when I was pricing myself at £50 for a logo, they didn't understand why I was charging £50, because it's just doodling on a pad.
It's like, can it not just be like tenner?
Totally.
Yeah. One thing I was going to say was as well, I feel like, so I had experience when I first started, I was on Fiverr and I was doing logos and illustrations, and like the same kind of clients came to me then. So they'd come to me, like you said, with an idea in their head, and they want you to do that exact idea, but that's not letting me design. So like when customers come to you and they're like, oh, I want this exactly thing, you know, they've got the idea in their head, they're coming to you to just put it on paper. They're not letting you design, they're not letting you do your job. So like, I feel like maybe when you start to price yourself even higher, people will come to you like, this is my brand, this is what I stand for, do your work because I trust you. Instead of coming to you like, move this a tiny little bit over. And so what we want to know is as well, like, what does your average day look like? Like, I want to know everything. When you wake up, like, what do you have to drink? Is there like a specific, you know, like apple cider vinegar? And then
be like completely honest about this.
What does your day look like? Like, tell us everything.
Right, so I did actually write some notes down, because when I saw this question, I was just like, this is such a lovely question if I was like an interesting person, which I'm not. I'm just so boring. Like, I just feel like everything at the moment is my work. Like, the most exciting part of my life is everything that I'm doing with Doodlex and like,
isn't that amazing though?
Media.
That's amazing.
It is amazing.
That you can say that.
I love it. I absolutely love it. It's just, it feels very strange because it's like all dampened at the moment with everything that's going on, and how I just feel like I've been stuck in the same place for 2 years. Even though I've achieved so much with Doodlex and I've done really, really well, and I obviously acknowledge that, it's just like waking up every day and just being like, oh, well, the same day is happening. Like, my weekends have merged into one. Like, I don't really have, like, any kind of
boundaries
work
with it.
Yeah.
Right.
Which I'm trying to do. As I say, this year is going to be the year where I'm trying to, like, sort things out for myself, because I actually wrote down, like, I feel like my methods of living are very unhealthy at the moment. Like, I just sort of, I get up, I'll probably miss out a lot of, like, you know, things like showering or, like, getting dressed. Like, sometimes I'll just get out of bed and just be like, do you know what, I'm just going to not get dressed today.
Oh my God, that's me every day. I really relate.
Yeah. But it's, like, it's fine. It's I'll get up, I'll have something to eat. I'll have an oat milk tea. I love oat milk tea. That's my poison. Cup of tea.
Very nice.
Me too, I drink so much tea. So much tea.
Yeah. Yorkshire tea.
Oh, the best.
Perfect. Yorkshire brew.
Yeah.
Love it.
You've got
Absolutely love it.
Points on there from me. There you go.
Top tier tea, of course. I'll work like sort of up till my lunchtime, or if I wake up and I'm just not really feeling like I'm in a productive state, I'll just sort of like faff about for a couple of hours, and then I'll have my like main meal at lunchtime, and that sort of like gets me into the zone to be like, right, sit down, set all your work up, get working, and then I'll work for the rest of the afternoon. So there's not really any pattern, it's just kind of like how I wake up and I feel on the day, because it's that kind of work. Like, it's, one, I'm freelancing, and two, I'm actually like a creative, so
yeah, it's hard to structure, isn't it?
It is, it's really hard to structure, because I've set myself some working week hours, so I have like opening hours, if that makes sense.
Love that. I need to do that.
Yeah, it's they're very loose. They're more there for people like, if I don't answer your DM, then don't get angry because I'm not working. Like, I might be using social media, but I'm not working.
Again.
And that's the thing where you have like people expecting you to be on it all the time. Like, I found this last week I've actually been quite ill, and just like seeing people on social media and how everything just carries on and everyone's just like working, but then you want to be social because you're like feeling sorry for yourself, and then it's just like there's this expectation of like you need to be working if you're on social media because that's where your job is.
Yeah,
that's something that I need to deal with, really, but I'm sure most people do suffer with it that use social media as a form of income.
Yeah, this is something like, I was having a conversation with my boyfriend about. It was like, can't remember, we got into the topic of asking like what I would label myself as, like, as I'm an illustrator, I'm a graphic designer, and I said I don't really know how to put myself in a box. I says, but I do call myself a creative. And he was like, why do you call yourself a creative? I was like, because I don't think I'm just an illustrator. I says, I'm an online personality. Like, when you strip it down to the core. Yeah. So I'm not just an illustrator. I have all these other roles as well. That's why I call myself a creative, because I make reels and I make stories and I have a community and I like do things for like social media and stuff. So that's where the creative comes into it. But I just thought it was interesting that you brought that up as well, where you feel like you can't really switch off because everybody else's thing that they do, they like aimlessly scroll through social media as like their pastime to kind of kill time, whereas when I'm scrolling, I'm not aimlessly scrolling, I'm like saving reel clips, saving things, being like, oh, that's a good sound, that's a good idea, let's save that. So it's like as soon as you get up, people are like, oh, I'll just aimlessly look at dogs on my phone, whereas it's like, oh, I'll get up, I'm on my phone, right, okay, let's see what's trending.
Like I can use that. Oh, that sounds good. Yeah. Save that. Like I feel like we forget that we're constantly working. Like, even though being on social media a lot is bad anyway. Like, when you're on social media a lot and it's work, it's like it's probably quite bad for our mental health.
Oh God, yeah. I think that's the thing. It's like that mixture and that sort of like blurred line. Because, like you say, sometimes you are like, oh, but I am working. Like, I'm actually. I'm doing stuff for my brand, or I'm doing stuff for my client, like I'm actually working. But then it can go the other way where you're like, I have just wasted time on here and I haven't really been doing anything productive.
Oh, within work hours. Yeah. And then before you know it, I go on TikTok and I'm thinking, oh, I'll look at like some inspiration, and then my algorithm obviously my algorithm knows that I love cat videos. So guess what? 2 hours, cat videos, sending them to my friends. And then I'm like, oh no, that's not helping me. Yeah.
It's classic. It's the algorithm and how it works. It's like, even if you've got the strongest sense of like, I'm gonna do my shit today, it can still just one scroll and you could be a goner for a couple of hours.
I think we're all addicted, every single one of us, and it's so normalised, but we're addicted, like our brain.
It's the validation, it's the instant validation, and again, going back to why I don't work through DMs, it's the instant thinking like, oh no, she's online because the green little dot's there, like, which means, but I'm like, no, this is also like my downtime because I like looking at like really cute like art time lapses, and that's what I do for fun. It doesn't mean just because I'm on Instagram doesn't mean, and I'm posting to my stories, doesn't mean I am emotionally available for you right now.
Yes. Oh my God, emotionally available. It's so true. It really is so true. And that's the thing when you're in this like global village, I suppose, where there's so many different attitudes and mentalities, people like who are working on social media, people who use social media like
for fun,
as an escape, or just, you know, like for bullshit, and they don't really like, it's like, I don't know, I can get very frustrated. I don't know. I don't even know how to explain it. It's just, it's annoying, isn't it? Like, some people are using it for something else, and then you really want people to be, like, engaging with your stuff because you're spending time to make money, and you need their engagement to like, convert back to your sales,
and there's like a 24-hour countdown on your posts as well. That's how I see it. It's like, if I post something in the morning, that's got 24 hours to gauge as much traction as it can, and then
it's done.
I go to sleep, I wake up, and I do it all again.
So with my opening hours, they're kind of like a normal 9 to 5 working week. Like, I've sort of set myself, like, I think it's from 9 or 10. 9 a.m. I think I work from till 6, and then I have like an hour break in the middle. So it's exactly the same as like a normal working week.
Yeah.
Except that's not necessarily when I'm working, it's just like when I'm available to clients. And even then, like, I might not be available one week in the afternoon because I'm seeing my mum, or I'm doing something in real life that requires me to be not doing that.
Do you do Doodlex full time?
Yeah, basically. Yeah. I don't have any other, I don't have a job at the moment. I am looking for like graphic design work. Obviously, I graduated now nearly 2 years ago.
So did you go straight into freelance as well? Well, it will be if it's during COVID, yeah.
Yeah, so it all just like, it was all so weird, you know, like how the last couple of years has been like, what has happened? But like for this in particular, like, I finished uni in June. I was doing my work from home from March, so I was sent home from uni, and it was obviously all locked down, and I did my like final semester.
Yeah, I was in exactly uni. The same position, so I did my final year just as lockdown. Yeah,
it was intense, wasn't it?
It was just so weird, like, and
it was,
there was
such a strange,
and like everybody always says that, like, when you finish uni, like, your graduation is something that kind of like bookends your uni year, whereas I've not had a graduation yet, so I feel like it's not really been put to bed, and I still feel a little bit odd.
It was overrated for me. Graduation, I was like, all right, is that it?
Yeah, I'll be honest, I was most miffed about my end of year show. I was so fucking gutted. Like, I cannot even explain. Like, you know, that build up where it was just like, we were planning for it in the second semester after we came back, and I was just so gassed. Like, finally I'm going to be able to exhibit my work, and there's going to be employers from the local area come in. It's going to be amazing for my career, you know, even if I don't get offered anything, I'm going to get my name out there, and my business card is physically going to be touched, and people are going to see my work. None of that happened. We did our online show through a website. So the uni were really kind enough to pay for like a year's subscription on Squarespace. And we as a class just like, it was really kind of them, because they didn't have to, but like it gave us an opportunity to, you know, do something instead. And it did do well. Like, we got quite a few hits on the day, which was really good. And yeah, I don't know if any of my like classmates got any opportunities from it. I did actually have someone who was really interested in my work and asked for a portfolio review, and it did kind of turn into like me potentially having some work experience. But then there was a period in the summer where it sort of like died down, and everyone was like, oh, help out to eat out, go out and just spread it. So I thought like things were going back to normal, so I started to get back out there, and I said, right, I'd be willing to do this work experience. And then, like, you know how it is, they sort of were like, okay, give it a couple of weeks. I did like a task for them. I remodeled one of my old app projects from uni and sort of like zhuzhed it up so that they could see what my capabilities were using their particular software, which was Sketch. I basically was like, I'm going to be honest, COVID is scaring me a little bit, and this was when it came to the second lockdown in November, and I was like, I'm going to just wait for a bit because I live with someone vulnerable, and I don't think it's very fair of me to like start a new job travelling every day.
Yeah.
That makes
blah,
a lot
blah,
of
blah. And
sense.
they were like,
Yeah.
they were absolutely fine. They said, we might even be able to do something where you're online for a little bit, but we'll get in contact with you in a couple of weeks' time or a couple of months. Like, I think they decided we'll contact you in the new year because the COVID situation. They were just like, we'll see you in a couple of months' time. I emailed them, and then the guy was just like, yeah, we'll sort that out. And then it never happened. And then I later found out that one of my uni colleagues actually swept in there and took it, and because she was all right with COVID, she kind of, and I was just like, oh, that could have been like, you know, even just a step in for me to be like, oh, I've worked at this really cool local design studio.
Could you not have done something from home with them at all?
I know. I like emailed them and was just like, is there absolutely anything I can do to be, you know, to have this opportunity, because I really wanted to do this. And it was just, it was really like fizzled out quite badly. And I went back to my uni course leader, and he was a little bit disappointed as well, because they're like a company that the uni have worked with quite a lot. But because they'd taken on someone else from the course, it was kind of like, well, you were just in the wrong place at the wrong time, Lex. So
I know, but it's still quite unprofessional. Like, they could have gone about it in a better way and told you. You kind of still felt like it was going to happen, and it wasn't.
There was no communication there, was there? Which is
that's very disappointing.
Bit of a bad thing on there.
It was disappointing. And since then, it's just like, I was doing Doodlex when this was all going on, because I started Doodlex in July 2020. So that was literally how it happened. Was I got my partner Oliver bought me an iPad for my birthday, for my 21st.
Oh, that's how it always starts.
It was such a lovely present. It was our 5-year anniversary. I've just turned 21 and I just graduated from uni. So it was like this really lovely, like, he knew how much I wanted an iPad, and I never knew, like, until obviously I had it and was using it, how much it would elevate my life. I don't know how to explain it. Like, it's such an amazing bit of equipment, and I don't know where I'd be without it. But yeah, July 2020, I got my iPad and I just started drawing, as you do.
Yeah.
Just started doodling, and I can't remember. I think it was right at the end of the month. I was like, do you know what? I'm going to post this up on Instagram, because I had this old account that I'd been using from way back for my photography, I think. It was really, really old account that I was just using for like whatever. And I posted up the first video, and it was like, I did a portrait of, I found her on Pinterest. She was just this like, you know, classic model girl that's like everywhere on Pinterest, and I was like, I'm just going to draw her. I used After Effects and put like a really trippy background, so it was like proper moving, and it was just an experimental piece that I'd never really done before. And I decided, you know what, I'm going to reverse image search this model and see if I can find her Instagram so I can tag her. And I tagged her, and she shared my work on her story, and I think she had about 50,000 followers, and I didn't really think anything of it. Obviously, I was like amazed that I was just like, oh my god, the person that I've drawn, and just off the bat she shared it. But then a snowball effect started happening, where one of her friends then messaged me, and she was a music artist, and she was like, can you do me a portrait of myself, potentially for like some music releases.
Wow.
And then from then on, it just, it was like, she shared my work, and she like got the ball rolling for Doodlex. And at that point, it wasn't like anything, like I had the name Doodlex, like it just came to me. I was just like,
oh, it's amazing.
Lex,
it's so
Doodlex.
good. Yeah.
It just came to me. I was like, that's too good to not use. And then from then on, it was just like, I sort of started getting more like music people who were asking for commissions, and then it sort of got to the point where people were like, oh, do you do logos? And I was like, yes, I do. And then it just sort of grew from there. And obviously the community that I've built are sort of around like the cannabis community, and I don't know, just like free what do I want to say? spiritual people and like, I don't know, there's like a mixed vibe, like just good vibes, you know how it is, just people that are on a wave.
I was going to ask you
kind of got to be with my art.
But I was wondering how, I'm trying to think of how to word this.
No, go on, because I have a feeling I know what you're going to say.
Do you find that openly smoking weed, are you scared that your account's going to be taken down? Like, is that something that scares you? And do you find that when it comes to, like we say, obviously going by society's standards, smoking cannabis is always portrayed as not being very professional? Do you are you ever worried that maybe some bigger clients aren't openly wanting to work with you because you are so openly open? Say open again. Open. You are so open about smoking weed.
We personally think it's a great thing.
I think it's
no, it's fun. Honestly, I've got no like qualms with how people view it, because I know that there are a lot of people who follow Doodlex who aren't cannabis smokers, or they don't necessarily use drugs recreationally the way that I sort of like celebrate, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But I definitely like everything you, as soon as you said like I was like, I know where this is going, because this is a thing that I think about all the time.
I think it'd be silly if we didn't ask that, because it's like a big part of your art and your vibe. So I think I did definitely want to touch on it and ask you what your thoughts are.
I had a conversation with someone the other day about this and like censorship, and how my whole life as a creative I just feel like I've been censored. Not in the way that people would suspect, it's just like little things, like when I was at school and I wanted to draw like nude portraits, for example. I love nudity. That's another part of, I just love anything that's just a little bit too
out there.
You know, yeah. I remember at school I wanted to, you know, look into that, and it was just like, oh well, you can do it, but you can't display it at the school because kids. So it's just like I constantly had that thing where it was like, you can't do this because other people are gonna be like offended by it, or it's just not, it's not what we want to be showing. And I thought about that over like a couple of years, and like my whole art education. I mean, when I got to uni it was a little bit better, because I was allowed to like, there was more creative freedom, and if I wanted to discuss something that's a little bit taboo then I could, and it was openly allowed. But with the cannabis thing, it was just like, finally I have a space where I can just do whatever I want. And I love weed. I love the visuals that come from like that side of recreational use, or even just using it as like a medicine. Like I use it a lot to supplement my creativity. So if I'm like sat there and I'm just like, give me something, I need something, have a little puff on the spliff, and it's like, even if it's not a thing that you recognize there and then, it's like after an hour you're like, oh, I'm away with it, I'm not even thinking about it.
See,
it's just like
that makes sense. It's a really powerful tool, and I think I can definitely see the side of like unprofessionalism, which is another thing I like to push a lot in my artwork, because I'm trying to be, as I say, that stoner that society doesn't believe exists, the productive stoner. That's what I love about my community, is I'm building a load of people who are also on the same level as me. They're either using cannabis in their work or in their products, for example, and are being really successful with it, or they are using cannabis in their personal life and they're still able to achieve all these professional things in their life, like that people feel like they wouldn't usually be able to, because they're just smoking weed on the couch or something.
Well,
that's the vision, isn't it? That's how people see it.
Yeah, and it's like people who are in like California, like they're really cool and they smoke weed and they get it from the dispensary because it's legal there, and they're like, they are really productive, they just smoke weed. It's like another part of them. It's like they are this person. Oh yeah, no, so they smoke weed. Whereas when it's people in the UK, I do find there is this massive stigma around it. Of it being like, huge. They don't work, or if they do work, they don't do anything. They're like menaces to society. They just they're just really into drugs, and it's just not the case. And it's great that you're showing that like you do smoke weed, but yet you're like, yeah, but look how much work I'm getting done. Look
Still
how
got my shit together.
Yeah, like I'm not.
Like.
But yeah, alcohol's legal.
Yeah, but
Oh
also,
God, don't get me started.
Also, like, what is professionalism? Like, we said this before. What even is it anymore? Like, is it how you dress? Like I don't believe in professionalism. I think everyone should just be themselves. Like, you shouldn't have to like censor yourself at work to be able to be taken seriously. I think you should be taken seriously either way. Also, I don't know about you, Roxanne, but I've never smoked weed before. But I took
no comment.
I took CBD oil, right?
Okay, yeah.
And I was like, right, it's gonna help with my sleep and my brain, my anxiety, depression, blah blah blah. So I started taking it, and I think I took too much, and I was having the most crazy vivid dreams. So like, really? I can't even explain it. And like, one of my dreams, my friend gave birth to a cat, and it was so vivid. Like when you wake up and you're like, oh, I had a dream that was crazy.
See, I'm second guessing what kind of CBD oil you had.
It was from Holland Barrett.
Supposed to
You sure there wasn't any magic mushrooms in there too?
I don't know. It was from Holland Barrett, and I did Google it. Like, I went onto it and I was like, CBD oil, vivid dreams, and loads of people said they had this side effect. So like, for me, that's the non-hallucinogenic whatever side. It's got the THC in it. So I'm thinking, imagine my creativity and my vivid dreams and creativity, like
you might have got
my inspiration if I actually smoke weed. So like, when you were like, oh yeah, it brings my creativity on, I was thinking, yeah, I can imagine that. I mean, I don't know what I'd be like on it. Imagine me on weed.
I think you'd be a panicky mess. I think you would be such a panicky mess.
Yeah, I would. But I think
it's for me. Obviously, I've been smoking like nearly every day for like about 6 years now. So I'm a heavy user, but I don't know how to explain it. If you were to like just sit there and be like, oh, okay, I've never had weed before, I'm gonna have a little toke and see how we go, chances are you probably will have that experience of sort of melting into the couch, just wanting to giggle away, not really wanting to work, which is fine. Like, I feel that as a heavy user and someone who doesn't do that, I kind of miss doing that, because it's like I'm constantly being productive when I'm smoking, and I'm using it as a tool rather than like as a knock yourself out for the evening kind of thing, which is a positive thing, because it means that I'm not being ruled by it. I am using it as a tool rather than it ruling my life. But yeah, it's as I say, it's a big part of Doodlex, and obviously smoking on Instagram is another big thing. Like, I don't know if it's the smoking, it's more just like, I feel like the algorithm is just not very good at picking out when someone is like selling illegal Tinder and someone is like just posting up artwork of like a picture of something that's illegal. Do you know what I mean? It's same with like the whole nudity thing. Like, a drawing of a nipple might stay, might not. They say that the censorship is real, and that added pressure, as you say, like on top of building your social media platform, is just like, oh yeah, my account could be taken down at any point. But that's why I try to be really careful. Like, if you check through my captions and stuff, like if there's something that I think might be a little bit ambiguous to the algorithm, I'll say nothing illegal for sale here, as if to say like, there's nothing, like, I'm not doing anything wrong, just to point out.
It's simple.
So that
But that's it. Like, my Instagram started off as a sex education Instagram when I started doing all my, when I converted it from my personal account to uploading more art, because that's what I did at uni. I looked into sex, gender, porn, everything like that. So that was what naturally progressed into my Instagram, and then I ended up getting flagged. I got loads of artwork taken down, so then Instagram then pushed me, and then obviously it's pushed me into do what I do today, where there's no nudity. But then I have like a very secret sexy illustration account that I kind of just run every now and again. But then
I love that.
That's so it's not it's not got my name attached to it. So if that account goes down, it doesn't it doesn't reflect. It's not like FOXANNE's sexy drawings. It's something completely else. Like I've got like a completely different persona. But that is something that I've done because I can't afford to lose my livelihood and lose my Instagram account. Touch wood, let's touch all the woods.
Yeah. See, it's like so I've had illustrations of like ladies in bikinis or like, you know, like with legs out or something. And it's been flagged and I'm not allowed to put it on my store because it's like adult content, and I'm like, but it's a drawing. And it's not, I'm not allowed to promote anything that's got alcohol in it. But it's like a drawing of someone holding a glass of wine. Like, that's it.
Yeah.
But I'm not allowed to, but I'm not selling alcohol. Do you know what I mean?
No, it's really weird, isn't it? Like, where do we draw the line? Because I totally get it, like, in the respect of, like, if someone drew something that was offensive, doesn't matter if it's a drawing, it's still offensive.
Yeah.
But then that side of, like, the censorship, it's just like, how can a drawing of a, like, female body be I can't.
How is it offensive? And like children aren't allowed on social media anyway. You're not allowed on social media unless you're 13 years old.
That's the argument. It's like, but what if kids are about? Well, they shouldn't have social media then. That's the whole thing. Yeah,
that's a huge thing that I think. Like, I wasn't allowed to have social media until I was of age. Like, my mum was really. She's like, you're not having Facebook until you're old enough to have it. And it was a big thing for me. Whereas I find, like, some parents just don't seem to care or see the, like, impact that having their young child on social media can be. Not even just for the child, but for everyone else who has to, like, navigate. Mm-hmm. Like, if a 13-year-old kid came across my page, I would feel slightly responsible for, like, influencing a particular narrative onto a child, because there's lines you cross and there's lines I don't want to cross, and it's like I don't want to encourage like a 13-year-old kid to start using psychedelic drugs, for example, because that's not what I'm trying to do. It's like,
but at the end of the day, it's the parents' responsibility to know what their child's doing. And it's not your responsibility at all. I did actually want to talk to you about your social media as well, because Roxanne's really good on social media. She's very consistent, but I am not at all.
I try. But you're just on it. You are on it.
And your audience is very it's, what's the word? We said it yesterday.
Well, they're engaged.
Engaged, that's the word.
Very engaged.
Very engaged.
Audience,
you have a lot of conversations, and I think that's down to like what you do as well, and you're obviously very engaging with them too. So obviously we saw that you did Inktober, which is great. Any kind of challenge, I've always wanted to do a big challenge like that. Amazing. You do the Doodle challenge, which I absolutely love, and I'm always like, what's she gonna pick?
I love how you show up on social media. I think it's great, and I think you can tell that you have like so much time for it, and like you
and your personality as well.
Your personality really does come through, and it shines through, and I love it. I think after watching a few, even just going down and watching a few of your reels and your videos, you can see how like down to earth you are.
Yeah, and you do like skits, which I love.
Yes.
I love the skits. You just like having a chat, and that's where like your personality comes through, and that's why people remember you, I think. Because it's not just your work, they remember you as a person, and that's probably why they come back and like you're able to interact.
It's nice to see also, like, because obviously everything is on social media, it's nice to see your development like as a creator and illustrator, graphic designer as well. You can see that, which I like about I like that about most like creative like pages, is when you can kind of scroll down to the bottom and you're like, where did this start?
Same with yours, like seeing your like style change and how you've developed your illustration, and it's it is, that's what I love about the feed as itself. Like I curate it quite meticulously. Like I have a layout that I sort of follow, so I almost like draw out how my feed would look when I put those things. Obviously, because I've got a lot of colours and a lot of clashing stuff, you kind of have to, you have to be conscious of how you're putting that information out, which with the new content that I'm making, like the video content, I'm finding it's quite nice to break up some of the work and people being like, oh, let me check out what this video is instead, or like, you know.
Because it's very video driven at the minute, isn't it, social media?
It is.
Which is annoying in ways.
So that was a thing. So I had like a bit of a meltdown a couple of months ago now. Oh God, I can't. Time. I think it was a couple of months ago, maybe a couple of weeks ago, maybe just after Christmas. I'm not really sure, but it was around about. Yeah, not really sure. It was recently. I just had like a bit of a like, my page blew up in the first year and a half. Like my first 1,000 followers I got really, really quickly, which I was quite impressed with. And then since then, getting up to like 3,500, it's been a slog, but it's been quite simple to get there, as it were.
Yeah.
And now I've just noticed like it's getting harder and harder. I'm like losing loads of followers for no reason, and then like it's plateauing and not really going anywhere. So I'll like gain a load of followers and then lose a load, and it's just like, well, I haven't done anything in this week. In fact, I've lost followers this week, you know. So I was just having like a moment where I was like, I need to like rethink my content strategy, because Instagram is not favouring the square post artwork that I'm producing anymore.
Well, that's so annoying, because you're an artist.
Yeah.
I know.
Like, how are we supposed to exist on the platform as artists if we're just standing there like dancing to...
That's the thing. It's like you sort of have to rethink, like, you don't have to like change how you make the content. It's just how you're sort of producing it and showing it to people. So like, the thing that kills me most is like spending 5, 6, 7 hours on a drawing, and then to just be like, right, let me show them the fucking outline. Oh, okay, now let's show them the finished piece. Ooh, 7 seconds, and we've done a video that is going to be given like 0.3 seconds of like attention. It's heartbreaking, it really is. But that's why I was like, right, I need to change my content so that people want to come to Doodlex feed and they want to see this stuff. So that's where Doodlex Skits started.
Yeah.
I used to do a series called Doodlex Chats, which was a podcast series, essentially. I would screen record my drawing and then condense it into 15 minutes and then just do like an audio over the top, just chatting about whatever.
I love that, because I've not really seen anything like that. It kind of reminds me of like, I know this sounds really geeky, but I used to watch like, I play The Sims. I used to watch like The Sims builds where they do like a speed build and she just chat over the top. A bit like that.
Yeah.
Like, but I've never really seen that with illustration before. I don't think.
Because I feel like there's somebody who I've seen on YouTube potentially, but I can't remember the name.
Yeah, so it actually was inspired by do you guys know of Bailey Sarian?
Oh yeah.
Murder Mystery and
Yes, I love watching Bailey's videos.
I don't know this person. Someone enlighten me.
Oh, you need Murder Mystery and Makeup Mondays.
Murder Mystery and Makeup
So
Mondays.
she'll do a makeup while talking about like a true crime that's been heavy on her noggin. I love it. Honestly, you need to.
Laura, that's your homework.
Yeah, no, that's Laura's homework. We need to get into this.
Well, I've got to like put all the stuff in my studio today, so I'll watch it while I'm doing it.
And yes, it's great idea. Great idea.
Because she's so great though, because she like obviously she talks about like very like sensitive topics and true crime and stuff, but the way she describes them, it's so, one, empathetic, and two, she kind of navigates around that space in a very respectful way. And but the fact that she's also doing her makeup and doing like a really bold like smoky blue eye kind of tones it down a little bit.
Yeah.
But you need to watch it.
She's amazing because she's got like a researcher as well, so she like proper like writes her story and gets into the zone to like tell you this true crime. And that's what I really loved about her sort of setup, was the fact that there was that soft like, oh, I'm doing my makeup and like you can focus on me doing that and you don't really need to like worry too much about what is being said. I just loved that sort of format of like, watch me do something while I talk about something completely different. And that's where I sort of thought, do you know what, I could do it with my illustration and show people the doodle process, but then also just like have a random conversation about feminism or like
I love it.
You know, my journey of like becoming an illustrator, or just like I've done a couple with some other people. So I spoke to a guy called Bearded Horse. He's on Instagram. He got on to chat with me and we spoke about feelings, like just feeling your emotions and how important it is to do that, and just an open discussion about mental health. I had another artist, she's called Ruby Tull, and she does like animal pun artwork. It's amazing. If you haven't seen her, you need to check her out.
I haven't, but I will, because that sounds great.
Yeah, I think you would absolutely love her. And she was also like an artist that uses cannabis quite a lot. So we had a discussion about like what weed meant to us, and you know how that sort of developed for us in our artwork.
It's great that you're having these conversations though, because it's like it's opening up a safe space to have this dialogue without it having all these negative connotations reacted to it. And it's like, here's how it's actually helping us, and here's how I'm using it as something to help with my creativity rather than using it to block out feelings, which I think is the narrative that they run with quite a lot.
Yeah. That's basically the Doodlex like brand and compass, that it's a bit of a cliche, but I want it to be a safe space for all. I want people to feel like they can come and talk about things or open discussions about stuff that maybe society doesn't really openly allow for people to do.
You're breaking the barriers.
In a safe, yeah.
In a safe
Absolutely.
space, yeah. Oh,
and I just feel like the people that I'm engaging with, like you say, the people who are engaged with Doodlex, like it just feels like they're on such a level, like they feel like they're on the same level and they get that's what I'm trying to do. And it's really good that I'm receiving that, like that sort of engagement back from people, and it's working, you know, like people are having discussions. Like with my Doodlex skits recently, I spoke about my psoriasis.
Yeah,
that opened up a huge discussion for people in the comments. And, you know, like, it's just something you don't expect. Like, you suffer with something on your own, and then you open up to people, and it's like, oh, yeah, same. It's just like, yeah, why didn't we talk about this earlier and, like, make each other feel less alone?
It's like how I've opened up about my PCOS journey as well, and I've actually had people private message me and say, this is what I do to help, and have a look at this, and try to take this, or try to cut this out. And I think that's it. Opening up these discussions, it makes it more normal to have these conversations with strangers on the internet.
Yeah. And with people that you know as well.
Yes.
That you would never have talked to before.
Thing. Yeah. I like to think like most people in my life I'm pretty open with, and they're all pretty open with me too. Because I just like to breed that kind of environment, if that makes sense, so that people feel they can just... Like, it's almost weird when you, like, go to someone and they start talking about their feelings and they're like, oh, sorry, that was really, what are they, like, do you know what I mean? That was really open of me, or that was really,
too much information. I do.
She does. Yeah, and I'm just like, no, that's just normal to me. Like, I don't know.
There's an episode that we've filmed, and I was rewatching it the other day. I don't think it might not be out yet, or it might be. And there's a section where Laura talks about something, and all of a sudden she's the topic, I can't remember, we're not speaking about mental health, and then for some reason the topic goes on to mental health, and you're like, oh yeah, sorry about that, and then you kind of get over it. So that's something that you actively do still, even though we are both still so open. It is something that does creep in, and you're like, oh, I don't know if I should have said that. But
yeah, it's interesting, isn't it, how we like position ourselves with that, because is it insecurity in ourselves, or is it like just making things better for other people, like trying to
both,
minimize?
For me, yeah, both. It's like, oh my god, I don't want this person to think I'm overwhelming them. I don't want them to, it's always about what other people think. I don't want to upset them. I don't want to like make them think that I'm over emotional or oversharing, but like we both overshare, so I don't know why I did that. Maybe, I don't know,
but it's reinforced by like people having a positive attitude or a negative attitude to it, though, isn't it? You can sort of gauge how people are taking on board what you're saying, and if they're not an open person and they don't want to talk about it, then that's fine. But it's annoying to think that other people would make you feel like you can't express yourself.
I don't know where that comes from. Probably society, because I think it was about mental health, so that's probably why. I think I said something like, I'm depressed, and I went, sorry.
Yeah, I think you did say
that's what it was. Yeah. I think I said something like, I'm not numb anymore, I'm just depressed. I think that's what it was. And I was like, sorry. But it's true, so whatever. I'm not going to be sorry about it from now on. Thanks for pointing that out.
Good.
Sorry about that. Let's move.
It's the word sorry. You just kind of have to like remodel what the word sorry means, don't you?
We
say it so much.
An episode with Charlie from Illustrated by Charlie, and she says that stop apologising for things that you're not actually sorry for. And since then, I'm like, do you know what? I need to like take a tally of how much I say. Oh, sorry about that. And I'm like, no, I'm not sorry though. So stop
just
saying
like
it.
minimising yourself.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, exactly. Let's do better, guys. Let's do better.
Yes.
So I know that we've briefly talked about university, but I want to ask you, where did you study university? What was it like? We saw you got a first. Congratulations.
Congrats.
And obviously, really sorry that you had to finish it in such a rubbish way. But like, tell us all about uni. Like, what did you study? It was graphic design, wasn't it?
Yeah, so the course was actually called Graphic Design and Illustration. So it was almost like a 2-in-1 course.
Oh, I'd love to do something like that.
It was amazing. Honestly, hands down the best experience of my life. I studied locally in Ipswich, which is about 40 minutes away from where I am. So I did actually commute every day to uni. That was a decision in itself, because I was like, do I want to go? I got a place in Lincoln and Nottingham, and I was like, do I want to go away? And this uni I'd like known of since school, because it was one of those uni trusts where like the school would always like, you'd do a uni day out and it's like, oh, we're going to Ipswich. So I kind of like grew up around this uni and thought, oh, okay, this is like, I wouldn't mind going here. I originally wanted to be an architect, so
wow.
I know.
That's very different.
all through like school and through GCSEs, like I was a very how do I want to say this? I don't want to say academic student, but like school was quite important to me, and I always like, I don't know, like I planned my GCSEs for going to uni kind of thing, because I was that prepared, like I knew what I wanted to do.
I think I was the same actually. I did the same.
I got to sixth form and I wanted to do maths, obviously, because architecture is quite heavy on the maths, and they were just like, to be honest with you, Lex, your maths isn't very strong, like I think you'd be better off doing something a bit more like IT or tech based. And then my UCAS dude at the time, I feel like I need to email him and just be like, thank you so much for saying this, because you like pinpointed a change in my life. He said, why didn't you look at graphic design? I was like, oh, I've not heard of this before. Yeah. Like, honestly, sixth form, I knew what graphic design was. I was like, oh, okay, so like logos and stuff. I had an idea, but I just had no idea that it was an entire like route that I could take as a profession.
Because you don't, do you?
I looked into it.
When you think about a real job, you're like 9 to 5, typing on a keyboard. That's it.
Yeah. I always knew I wanted to be creative, but like I had my family and my grandparents like, art isn't going to make you any money, you can't be an artist, you're not going to make it, blah, blah, blah. And it's just like, yeah, I get like being an artist maybe in their eyes back then might not have worked, but nowadays, if you've got social media and you've got a platform, you can make money from anything.
Right.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And we live in a digital world. Like, it's a very visual digital world now, whereas it wasn't back then. So there's a lot more opportunity to be a graphic designer and an artist and an illustrator and everything. Right, so I wanted to ask you about Studio 23. Tell us all about that.
Oh, yes. Okay. Let me just, studio. Maybe I could get you,
Oh, have you got one?
Oh, yeah, I've got loads. This is the most recent one. So if I get an older one out so you can see, it's developed. We're bigger now. We used to be A5 and now we're sort of like just under A4.
Oh, I love it. We love to see it grow.
That was really exciting when we sort of, in the new year, we were like, right, we're going for a bigger size. Like, look at that. As a designer as well, it's just so nice to have more space, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, definitely. So for anyone who's just listening and can't see, what was it that you just showed us?
Yes, so this is the Studio 23 magazine, physical print, independent run. It's an incredible, like, community platform. I don't even know how to explain it because it is so much more than just the magazine. Georgie, who runs it all, she is absolutely incredible. Absolutely adore her. She's actually Cypriot as well, which is quite cool because I'm Greek. So I just felt like when I came across her like independent brand, she's got her own like small business that she sells like home decor and stuff. As soon as I saw that she does like all this Greek mythology stuff and loads of like just aesthetic that really hit home with me, I just really loved it instantly. I was like, okay, I'm gonna invest a bit of time and support into this magazine and see where it goes. Because when they sort of first started out, obviously it was just about like small businesses and uplifting folks to have a space and a platform to be able to like, you know, reach people of like minds. Yeah, I started off as most people do. I just sort of followed the page and was just sort of engaging with the content because obviously, as I say, it's more than just the magazine. Like, it's a place to get resources as a small business or as an individual, self-care stuff, content creation tips, all that sort of stuff is available on the platform. And then I got myself a submission. So how it works is you pay for a slot in the magazine. So there's quite a few different options. Like you can just have like a small feature, or you could have like a whole page, a double page spread. Obviously you can have as many of those as you want as well, but there's quite a lot of different options of how you can sort of present in the magazine. I decided to go for a double page to start off, and to be part of the magazine was amazing because it was like there was loads of people who were also part of the magazine who were sharing the content that was in there. There was people who were coming to the page from different places that I wouldn't have expected would want to, or be able to find Doodlex, as it were.
Yeah.
So it just kind of opened up a new platform.
What is the content that's in this magazine then for anybody who hasn't heard of Studio 23 before?
So the content is very, very varied. So how it works is you pay for your slot and then you get to design your bit in the magazine. So you would have, you're going to have quite a lot of different types of formatting and presentation, which in a way it's quite hectic when you're going it's amazing.
As an ADHD brain, it's gonna keep me entertained.
I love that. It's like so sort of the intro will be all designed by Georgie. She's the editor and she'll like include sort of like some base information or like some articles.
What's Georgie's background? Is she a graphic designer? Is she a
I'm not really sure what she would call herself, but I think at the moment she's sort of like mostly into marketing and stuff.
Right.
Mm-hmm. I could be wrong.
Don't
quote me.
I find it interesting, like, the types of people who like come together to make things.
Yeah, so she's amazing because like she does her small business, which is like home decor stuff, orders and all that. She's got the magazine, and then I think she's got like a couple of real life jobs as well. So she
Wow.
is juggling, and she does so much, which is why when I came to her, I can't remember when it was that I actually went to her and said, I'd like to help you if I can, like be a sort of resident designer. So I was like, how would you feel if people had the option to pay a little bit extra so that I can design their page for them, so there's a little bit like more uniformity, and also help people out with their, like, if they don't know how to design and they just want to be in the magazine,
they would then have to
great.
they would have to outsource a designer then, which is a cost on them as well.
Yeah,
That's such a great idea from you.
Yeah,
I love it.
I love that.
Yeah. Thank you. I know I'm like massively undercharging this service, but for me, honestly, I've worked with over 20 different small businesses just in the couple of months that I've been doing it, and it's just opened up so many opportunities for me. Like, I've gained clients who have come to me wanting work because I've designed for the magazine, and
amazing.
You know, it's just been a really, really positive thing. And obviously for me to be able to have portfolio work, like a physical printed magazine, to be like, look, I designed this, that's like priceless.
It's
really,
insane.
to be able
I just
to take
love
to an
it.
interview.
I love hearing it, like, people who put themselves out there and then they're thriving from putting themselves out there, like, oh, I just love it.
Yeah, that's something I struggle with. One of my New Year's resolutions is to actually actively seek out clients. So all the clients I've had in the past have come to me, and I'm kind of like, well, they'll come to me because I'm amazing and this is fabulous, but like I have all these massive clients that I want to work with, and then I just expect them to just fall onto my lap. Like, the universe doesn't work like that.
You kind of have to go get them, don't you?
I am actively, obviously, with losing. I hate to bring it up because it just makes me so sad, but with losing, obviously, my portfolio and all my client work, I felt I've taken it as like a starting from scratch. It's a fresh start. So now I'm getting new stuff that's for my new style, because there's some. Going back, there's something I wanted to bring up before, like when you were speaking about branding and being able to do stuff like that. That's something I really, really enjoy doing. But when and taking on jobs because I'm skint, rather than taking on jobs because I want to do the work. When I first started out, I was taking on all of these jobs, and my portfolio was great and it was full of this stuff, but none of it was my style, and none of it I was like super, super proud to share, because they'd come to me and they'd want something like very like Chanel number 5, kind of like that, kind of like delicate stuff,
like,
and I'm like, yeah, and I'm like, I'm very bright and in your face and very bold. I'm not one of those people that is like, I'm gonna do like a very, very minimalist sans serif font, a square, and that's it. Because
never heard of it.
Yeah, like it's not about me. But I have done a few jobs like that, and yes, they were amazing, and it was great to like work on that type of style, and it was great for my bank account because I'm skint, because I'm a creative. But now looking back, that was in my portfolio. That would then pay when I do send them off to these big designers. That would then reflect poorly on my image. Whereas now, like I said, I'm taking this to be like, my portfolio is going to be my style. What I'm still finding out, which is something that I
want to do.
Yeah, that we've spoken about before, about how we've seen your journey, and when we scroll down your feed and stuff, we see how things have kind of naturally progressed into different styles, and you've kind of worked with a different style and then like moved on to that, and then thought, oh, actually no, let's move away from that, which I think is nice. But yeah, no, I just wanted to say that I like seeing your progression, and I think it's the fact that you do share like all of your old stuff, because there's quite a few accounts that like delete all their old designs and stuff. But I like that because it shows that like you can start from this place and look where I've flourished, look where I've gone, look how, and it's okay to progress. And I think that's something like we've spoken about with like me with my pink and red. For so many years I felt like I was stuck because that's how everybody knows me, but seeing people like you and other people who are constantly being like, oh, this is a different style now because I'm human and I've grown up and I've changed, like I think, but I just wanted to commend you for that. I think it's fab.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that.
So how would you, like, obviously we have talked about, you know, that you've got the element of weed in there, you know, cannabis. I don't know how to say it because I'm just so innocent and sheltered.
I love it.
Is it weed? Is it spliff? I don't know.
Reefers.
Love it.
Oh. And you've talked about your your community, but for anyone that's listening that hasn't seen your work before, how would you describe your style, or would you say that you're still finding it? Like, tell us about it.
So my style, it depends which one we're sort of talking about. So if we're talking about, I call this the Doodlex style, because I feel like this was the style that I sort of like developed, and it was what drew people in. It's the style that I use mostly when I'm doing like illustrative logos and such. So it's very unconventional colour use, very bright colours. I like challenging people to be like, oh, I didn't think those colours would work together, but they do.
I love it.
That's my vibe. Bright colours, lots of like intense highlight. Like I want to make it almost like it looks real, but it's like supernatural. Do you know what I mean? Like, for example, if I wanted to draw someone with like purple skin, I would like to make the lighting so it's like it really looks like their skin is like glowing. It's just a lot of like sort of trippiness and psychedelic vibes and wave. Like, I imagine, if you were tripping on acid and you were looking at my artwork, you would have a hell of a good time.
I just think that that's something, that's a question that we love to ask creatives, because everybody reacts the same. I react the same when someone asks me that question. We go into a blind panic of having to fit what we do into a few sentences, and it might be like a little bit psychotic of me, but I kind of like it when like we do ask that question and they squirm and they're like, oh my god, no, I don't really know what to ask, because then that proves that we're all just kind of winging it, right?
Oh, yeah.
I don't know, I'll just try stuff, and if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't, and that's it at the end of the day, and it brings me joy, so fuck it.
So how did you find your style? Was that always, like, from a young age, something that you like to do? Like, play with different colours?
I started... I took a lot of inspiration when I was younger from Pinterest, as you do, and there was like these really cool like grungy style zombie drawings that used to be about, and I used to absolutely love them.
I used to do them on Tumblr.
Obviously the best place for them.
Here I am again, all innocent. I used to draw girl bands.
Oh, I literally love it. I just used to draw my friends as zombies because that was,
I love that.
It was the whole like scene crowd and like the emo crowd that was coming onto social media, was exactly it. From MySpace to Tumblr, which it was kind of that transitional period. But there are some of your drawings that I have seen that had like the grunge and stuff, and I was like, I felt like it was like very nostalgic for me. I was like, oh my god, I love this.
That was it. I was like, for me, it was pure nostalgia, because I started like doing these drippy grunge portraits and everyone was like, yo, these are so cool. And then like a couple of months into it, I thought, I feel like I need to like mention to people like I was hugely inspired, because I feel like people thought like the Doodlex grunge zombie thing was like my thing. And it's like, I definitely reclaimed it and made it into my own sort of style. But it was hugely inspired by like this like nostalgia, like you say, and it was it just sort of got to the point where I was like, right, now I want to see what Post Malone looks like drippy, or I want to see what like I can make so and so look like in this style. And it was like a thing where I was starting to get really excited about like using this style and developing it.
I love
that's
that.
where it sort of started.
Because that's the main thing. You've got to be excited. Yeah, and when you get excited about something, that's where magic things happen.
It does.
And that was why my style changed recently to this sort of like more like sketchy, stripped back version of drawing, because obviously I was doing a lot of tracing. That's my process. Like, I would take an image, trace over the top, and my twist was that I would incorporate the original image back into the artwork. So like I'd leave their hair and like colour their hair so that it's like part of the drawing again, if that makes sense. So it's like multimedia like digital art is how I would describe it. It got to a point where I was just doing like 4-6 hours on a drawing, and I was just doing it for the sake of like, I just need to get some artwork out, and it was really unfulfilling.
Yeah, it is, isn't it?
I got burnout. Like, I'd just been going and going and going for like the last year and a half, and I was like, this, like, I'm not enjoying it anymore. Like, I'm just doing it for the sake of doing it. So I sort of like played around with reverting back to like freehand sketching and like seeing how I would do with that. And I just realised how much I'd improved my drawing skills, my portrait drawing skills from like tracing over the last couple of years. And so now my process is like, as I say, stripped back. I don't spend as much time on like colours and perfecting things. I've kind of realised that sometimes the sketch is good as it is, and taking it further is actually taking away from the piece. So that was kind of what this new style was.
I love
like,
that.
Yeah.
I just want to sketch, add some colours that need to be there, and then I've also been playing around a lot with like typography and like written word and poetry and speaking. And so yeah, just blending those in together, and it just reinvigorated again my love for illustrating, because I just got to a dead end and I was like, no.
Sounds like it's given you a new lease of life.
It has.
Yeah.
It really has.
Oh,
Love it.
Amazing. So I'm just looking at the question. I'm pretty sure we've gone through all the questions apart from the very last one.
Oh yes.
Yeah. So we're gonna ask all of our guests this. What is 5 things you wish you knew sooner? It's okay if you can't do 5. Like, if you've only got 3, it's fine. It just gives people the space to be able to say this, and this, instead of just picking one.
Life and like personal and work.
Yeah, personal and work, whatever, you know,
Very open-ended.
family, friends, you know, style, I don't know. Ignore me.
Yeah, I'm trying to think, because this was the one that I didn't really like write too much about. I think one of the points that I came up with is like pretty self-explanatory, but like only you can do the things that you want to do. You are the only person in charge. Like, you can have support, you can have your audience and your engagement around you, but like, if you want something to happen, then you have to do it. And I know that sounds really obvious, but it's just like, sometimes with social media and stuff and platforms, you just kind of like get to the point where you're like, expect it to just happen, or it's just like, you work so hard that you're just like, okay, now I'm going to have a breather and hopefully things will just come my way.
Yeah.
But it isn't the case. Like, you've just constantly got to be on it and assessing where you are at, because as I say, you're the only person who's going to be keeping track of that. What is another point?
It's okay if that's the only one. Don't you worry, there's no pressure.
Look at Luna behind us.
I feel like I could impart some wisdom though, you know, like...
Oh yeah,
or like...
if you've got it.
I mean, like, if you've got any advice for any, you know, aspiring graphic designers, illustrators, branders. What is that? Brand designer.
Branding.
Yeah.
Brander.
Any branders? Sorry, that was embarrassing.
That's alright. Any branders?
I think we should petition.
I'm a brander.
Yeah, I think that's fantastic. I wish I could call myself a brander.
That just reminds me of like people that brand cows.
What?
A brander, that's the first thing I...
Yeah, like...
What happens when you brand a cow?
Branding iron.
Killing him.
No! Have you not seen like when they get them like hot poker sticks to
It's
brand
really
a cow?
horrible.
It's rank.
What are they doing to them?
I'm so sorry that I've just told you that exists.
What? But what's the point?
Isn't it?
I don't know
sure.
if they do it anymore, but the like hot.
You didn't need to show me.
Isn't it?
I know, I didn't need to show you a picture.
Just put a number on.
I feel like the word branding a cow, and the art of branding, like logos and
very
stuff.
different.
Like there must be some link though. Because I feel like the branding was like the farm's brand, like they're putting their label.
Yeah.
On the, isn't that what?
This is my brand of cow.
Yeah, livestock branding is a technique for making livestock so as to identify the owner. Originally, livestock branding only referred to a hot brand in large livestock with a branding iron, though the term now includes alternative...
Like cow NFTs.
Well, now they pierce their ears. They put a little tag on their ears. They don't necessarily brand them anymore.
A nice little accessory.
Yeah.
Cute.
Yeah, so have you got any advice for anybody? Let's see. But it's alright if not. But
I think what I would like to say is probably community is really, really important in terms of building a brand, especially online. Yeah. Just to hear you guys say that the people who are engaging do seem very engaged, and I don't know, it really hit home for me when you said that, the fact that other people can see that people are engaging and see this space as somewhere that they can chat and open up about things. I think that's a really important thing to be supplying in your daily life, regardless of your profession. And when you build a community around you that are like-minded, it can just be priceless. Yeah, powerful. Really priceless.
Can keep you going really as well, powerful. Knowing that you've got people that have got your back and understand what you're going through, and because if you just had an Instagram account where you just put in illustrations on and you weren't talking to anyone, I think that's what I did when I first started. Yeah. I just followed all of the followers on my personal page, and I was just the only people that were interacting were my friends from school, and it was it's so much better now that I've got internet friends.
Face to the brand. And I think as well there's a part of it where it's it almost gives you, I don't know the word for it, but it's do you know how you leave people reviews, and the fact that people are leaving you reviews, you're oh, they trust them, so I must. But the fact that you've got so many comments on all of your stuff, it's all of these people are so engaged with you. And that's the kind of the word of mouth being so if all of these people are engaged and all of these people are opening up, all of these people also think that you're setting this safe space and creating this safe community, which then openly invites other people into it as well. Yeah. So I think as well, and I think it does help, and I do credit you a lot for the community that you have built, and I think it's bloody fabulous.
I think it's fabulous too.
I appreciate that.
So nice.
Appreciate you both.
Amazing. Lex, thank you so much for coming on. We've been so excited to have you on because we know you can chat and you're just so lovely, and we're just really excited to have you on.
Thank you. I've really enjoyed being here. Thank you for having me. It's been great.
Yeah, you're the first one that we've done on Zoom, so I hope it weren't too awkward for you, because usually we have
fine.
People here, and it's but
I would absolutely love to have come to the Manchester studio, but it's a trek. But maybe one day.
Do you know? If you ever visit in Manchester, you just let us know. We'll go for some drinks. I'll get a soft one.
For a little tea latte.
Yeah, we'll go out
for oat milk tea.
Yeah, exactly. We'll go out for a hot drink.
I love that.
That would be so nice.
I love that. This is something that the podcast has made us do. It's made us connect with so many more people and create a bigger community. And it's great to have you on board and have you here, and to be able to I hope that this has been a safe space for you, because that's something that we do want to create. We do want to make this a safe space. No one judges, and having these open discussions and maybe sharing our points of view and our likes on things. But I'm so thankful that you have been so open with us, and you've taken time out of your day to chat with us.
Yeah, thank you so much.
I've loved it, honestly. Thank you.
No, it's been amazing, and I was so glad to have you here. I was going to say something else, and now I'm really annoyed with myself because it's gone out my head, and I thought it was great.
That's what I did before, and I can't remember what it is.
It was great as well.
Right, okay.
No. This is what I was going to say. Also, we have to say, You're a big fan of the podcast. You from the start, you were commenting, messaging, putting us on your story. Yeah. And I was we definitely have to have her on. I was we've got to have her on.
Yeah.
Because she's a big fan.
Honestly, when you said when you announced you were doing the podcast, I was I was so gassed. I was just yes, finally, a podcast that is about creatives and is for creatives, and you two are fucking amazing.
How
Like,
did you
you're so
I want to
lovely.
know how did you find out that we were doing the podcast?
Was it on like one of our posts?
Yeah, it was I think it must have been through you, FOXANNE, because I feel like I followed you, Laura, after I found out about the podcast.
Yeah.
Like, I knew of FOXANNE first, and then I came across your account. And yeah, it was like when you were like, "Oh yeah, it's coming next month." I was like,
This is it, like, because we were having these conversations like outside of it being filmed, and we was like having these open discussions about money, which is something that is hard to have with strangers on the internet, because some people are very like, right, like it's all down to your boundaries, but some people are very like closed up about it. But we were like, okay, how much do you charge for this, and how much should I charge for this? And then we was having these discussions, and we was like, people need to listen to this, people need to be involved in these discussions, and it's okay to make mistakes as well. This is something that we're learning, that like people see that we're making mistakes and we are where we are, then they're more likely to, if when they make a mistake, to be like, yeah, but Roxanne and Laura has done it, so
everyone's making mistakes. Well. Like the people who have got 200,000 followers and that are doing amazing, they're still making mistakes.
Yeah, and I think that's it. That's super grateful.
That's the thing. I really do like to be open about that thing. Like, yeah, we're winning, but we're not always winning, and that's okay.
Yeah.
And you know, like, it's very unhealthy for people to be constantly thinking like, oh, they're doing so well and they're doing so good, because it's like you say, like, I struggled to get out of bed some mornings, and like you know, all that normal human stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's good to be open about it. Absolutely.
Fabulous.
Yeah.
Well, thanks so much for being on. And do you want to plug away? This is your time to plug your websites,
your socials.
Let us know.
Everything.
Yeah. So obviously Instagram is my main place. I'm not really on many social medias. I'm on TikTok as well, and I'm Doodlex __. And my website is www.lexperience.co.uk / Outlet, because that's obviously my shop.
Yeah.
All of those links can be found obviously on my Instagram, link in bio. Yeah, that's another thing. Like, I have a whole other side of things. Like, I have Doodlex, but then I have Lexperience, so people that purchase through my website will see that I have like almost two different brands. It's just one is the like sort of illustrator side, and one is the more graphic design professional side, whatever that means.
Yeah, that's what I had as well, whereas now mine are more merging into one. But yeah, no, we will put all of your links and stuff in the show notes or the YouTube description if you're watching on YouTube. But this has been fabulous. Thanks so much for chatting with us.
I'm so inspired.
Thank you.
Like, I'm so inspired by this chat. Like, I'm gonna go upstairs and make some amazing art.
Yeah. So thank you so
I'd love
much
to
for
hear it.
joining us. Thank you so much for listening wherever you are listening. We'll see you next week for another episode of the Do It For Yourself podcast. See you later.
See you
Bye.
next Tuesday.
See you next Tuesday. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.